Welcome back to Hockenheim and the third round of the 2025 Euroformula Open Championship. In Germany, it's 18 laps or 30 minutes, whichever comes first, to come in race 2, the first of our top 6 reverse grid races. This one taken from the results of race 1, which was won by Michael Shin after a very dramatic encounter on the opening lap between Timothy Kaharchak and Yevon David, the top 2 in the championship, coming to blows in Hockenheim, and both getting minimalized results because of that. And so Michael Shin will start from 6th position in this reverse grid race. Everett Stack, the young American, got his first podium in the Euroformula Open Championship ahead of Ed Pearson, who was back on the podium for Nielsen Racing as well. But this man, Yevon David, starting down in 10th position. And as you can see, conditions far worse than what we had yesterday. The wet Pirellis have been put aboard these Dallara 324 Toms-powered machines, and that should just spice things up even more. Chris Stevens and George Morgan in the commentary box for race 2 here in Germany.
Yeah, the top 2 in the championship. Chris, welcome one and all, first and foremost, to a very damp and dreary and very wet Hockenheimring this morning. It certainly was. The 2 championship leaders coming into the weekend. They both shared a run down through towards the start-finish line back at Spa to decide the winner. They went head-to-head back then. They went head-to-head in the opening race yesterday to open up Hockenheimring, and both of them came off second best as a result. But this is a very different set of affairs. Race 2 about to get underway. They'll be seeking retribution. Expect fireworks. But obviously Michael Shin providing the goods this time around and enters himself into the winner's fold for the first time this season, indeed, after a trio of second place finishes back at Portimao and a very difficult Spa weekend. He is back fighting and is now entering himself into the title fray. Watch out for Nielsen Racing as well. Welcome Ed Pearson back onto the podium once again. Remember, of course, victorious in our very first race of the season back at Portimao, and also in the process marking Nielsen's first win in this championship since joining it at the start of the campaign. But now they're back again. There could be more in the locker for Nielsen this time around, so keep your eyes peeled on them. It's going to be a highly competitive final 2 races of the weekend, Chris.
Possibly the most pointless message, but one that has to be declared as a formality, has popped up on the timing screen. Session is declared wet.
Yeah.
No surprise there. Michael Shin getting his first win, which we were saying in Portimao, who's the groomsman and never the groom. Even though he was leading race 1 quite comfortably, which he threw away with about 5 minutes to go. We saw Diego De La Torre already pulling up onto the grid. Everyone else is opting for an extra reconnaissance lap to the grid. But Diego De La Torre, starting from the back after his car expired on the way to the grid yesterday, and didn't even manage to start race 1 yesterday, which was a real shame considering he was supposed to be starting from the front row of the grid. And the way the format works as well, because race 3 is a reverse grid from qualifying, he'll end up lining up 5th there as well. So, yeah, a little bit of work for the young Mexican to do in this race. But it will be Sean Rashid, by the way, who starts on reverse grid pole, aboard the number 32 car. And that's Ed Pearson getting very sideways out of turn 11. They're exploring the grip levels out there already. This is the car that finished 3rd yesterday, won the season opener back in Portimao, continuing Nielsen's very impressive form of winning on their debut in series, as they did in LMP3 and LMP2. And of course, a very busy period for that squad coming up as well, with the Le Mans test day today. But Sven Thompson, the team boss, is here in Hockenheim, committing to this single-seater program that's new to the team for this year. And he and the rest of the team will be heading out to Le Mans on Wednesday, I believe, as well, for the 24 hours, as Yevon David here pulls up to what will be the 10th place grid spot. We're not used to seeing him in that lowly position out there.
It's the lowest he's going to really start, you know, I would say pretty much inside this Euroformula Open Championship, because if you remember back at Spa, incidentally at race 2, that was the first time he had finished outside of the podium places since he joined the championship back at Monza last year. So very much against the grain of what we expect from the Sri Lankan generally. Yesterday's race winner, Michael Shin, his 3rd career win in the Euroformula Open Championship from the 2 he had last year at the Red Bull Ring, and here at Hockenheim, where he took his first win in the championship in amongst the 4 rounds he contested with Motorpark last year. Now a full season campaign for the South Korean.
as the wet tyres we can see on these cars, and I don't think there'll be anyone out there braving it on slicks, just looking at how the cars were behaving on those reconnaissance laps to the grid. It is quite a treacherous conditions we have here, with fresh asphalt at various points around the circuit, including the first couple of corners as well.
And it's a bit dramatic, so it's better to have a...
I got it. I got the start.
Yeah.
So just hearing some conversation there between Sean Rashid and his engineer Victor Cortez. FIFO Barrichello starting on the front row of the grid as well. Podium finisher this year. New engineer for FIFO this weekend, Matteo Seeliger, standing in for Rolf Druckenmüller. That Jose Garfias here as well, who was struggling in qualifying a little bit. Found the gravel at the Sachs curve, and then Ed Pearson.
Wonderful result yesterday for Ed Pearson. Of course, the Brit back on pole position after a tremendous third place for Nielsen. Next up, we have Everett Stack for his first podium yesterday as well. It marked a special day for Everett Stack, who had Brad Benavides, of course, last year's Euroformula Open champion, cheering him on yesterday during the course of qualifying. And, of course, yesterday's race winner, Michael Shin, returns back on the grid, looking to chase for additional glory, starting from 6th place. Remember, of course, the race result reversed inside the top 6. So from 1st to 6th is where he'll start. And another car representing Nielsen, Bing Green, also here on the grid representing Britain as well. Looking to find his feet in the championship for the first time is the former Formula Regional Middle Eastern Championship driver and also Euro Cup 3 from last year.
Timothy Kaharczyk, who was on pole position yesterday, but had that first lap tangle with his championship rival, Yevon David. He starts down in 8th place. Paolo Brajnik, the Gold Cup driver. The Gold Cup for drivers aged 35 and over. And then championship leader Yevon David still holds the championship lead, despite only finishing 10th yesterday. But a thumbs up from the Sri Lankan, and very much on theme from his TED Talk that he had in Colombo last week about how his failures made him stronger. Turns 18 on Wednesday as well. A very wise head on some very young shoulders. Diego De La Torre at the rear of the field there after not starting yesterday's race. His car expiring on the way to the grid. 11 cars ready to take the start. Let's take a look back at what happened yesterday. A gap on the grid for Diego De La Torre. It was a lightning start for Michael Shin from the second row of the grid as Timothy Kaharczyk spun up those rear Pirellis off the line. That allowed Yevon David to go through into second place as well. The top two in the championship tussled further around the lap, but drama would strike as Kaharczyk chopped across the nose of Yevon David, giving himself a puncture and damaging the front wing of the Sri Lankan as well. They were both limited to just 8th and 10th place finishes in the end as they struggled to get their cars back to the pits. David tried to continue, but couldn't manage to do so, and that allowed Ed Pearson to go through into second place. He then fought with Everett Stack as well, getting a push off the road with Jose Garfias managing to go through as well after going off in qualifying. Pearson retook the podium place going into the Mobile 1 curve, but absolute domination from Michael Shin while everyone else squabbled behind him. He took his first victory of the season, opening up his checkbook for the 2025 campaign. So it is 16 points, Yevon David's advantage, but now with Michael Shin tied on points with Timothy Kaharczyk in third position. Ed Pearson there in fourth, FIFO Barrichello 5th in the standings, just ahead of Jose Garfias. Everett Stack now 7th after his first podium of the season, ahead of race 2. $18 laps of racing, or 30 minutes, which we might end up doing if we get safety cars. Here's how they line up. Sean Rashid on reverse grid pole ahead of FIFO Barrichello. Nielsen Racing ahead of Team Motorpark. Then Jose Garfias and Ed Pearson, who was on the podium yesterday. Starting in 4th position, Everett Stack after his first podium starts 5th ahead of yesterday's race winner Michael Shin. Finn Green, he had a little trip through the grass yesterday. He's in 7th ahead of Timothy Kaharczyk, hoping to recover after his first lap dramas yesterday. Then comes Paolo Brajnik, the Gold Cup driver, championship leader Yevon David, and then Diego De La Torre, after not starting yesterday's race, lines up in 11th. Those are going to be Three cars, really. Kahacek, David, and De La Tour, who should be making progress in this race.
Yeah, no question. Obviously, given the factor that obviously they made the changes, they repaired the engine that, of course, had a failure leading through on the formation laps. So hopefully everything will be all good this time around. Of course, we're dumping off the slick tyre. We're now on to the full wet compound. So now it's all on these drivers to try and make the right judgment calls and also masterclass their way around this circuit. Keep your eyes peeled on Ed Pearson. I think this race is going to be so quick. He's just making his way out of turn 6 right now. As you can see, they're just weaving side to side. So important to get this temperature up. I can tell you that looking at the track temperature right now, we're seeking 17 degrees. So that's pretty cool in the context of the circuit here at Hockenheim at the moment. We reached the heights in free practice, for example, at 22.7. So we could see that rise through the course of the day, but it has been largely cooler as well in the air. It's currently stood at 14.3 as it stands, which is, again, 4 degrees lower than where we saw it on Thursday. So, yeah, it could be a little bit challenging for the drivers. Tricky to get the heat into that compound as well, the Pirelli wet. Let's see how they get on during the course of the race. Will that cause problems heading down in towards turn 1, with it being such a sharp right-hander with a curb on the escape as well, leading through towards turn 2. I'd imagine we will see a couple tending to that escape. We did see a couple yesterday as well at the very beginning. It's going to be a very stiff fight, and not forgetting some of the heavy braking zones, especially at turn 6. Later on as well on the run down through towards turn 9 and turn 10, and the ever-present Sachs curve as well, coming into turn 12 with the final 2 corners. Huge overtaking opportunities at every single point here at this Hockenheimring circuit.
3 sets of Pirelli wet tyres the drivers are afforded for the weekend, and so with only this and one more race to go, should be no concerns there. Or indeed, if it's dry later on and we need the slicks, it should be everyone able to use a full set of new ones, because of course they're not using ones in this one. Sven Thompson in the Nielsen garage there watching on. His car starting on pole position at the hands of Sean Rashid, the man from Georgia, who lines up at the front. Diego De La Tour just creeping into his grid position at the back of the field. Sean Rashid pointing over towards FIFO Barrichello already, but green flag is waved at the back. The engine notes rise. We have all 5 lights on. We're racing in Hockenheim. Not a good start for FIFO Barrichello from the front row of the grid. Rashid gets away well. Another great start from Michael Shin. He's already made up a couple of places. He goes around the outside of the first corner and goes into 3rd position ahead of Ed Pearson. Another lightning start from the South Korean. He's made up 3 places on board here with Yevon David through the first corner as he's side by side there, I think, with Diego De La Tour. Off the road goes Everett Stack and into the wall as well. And that is the man who got his first podium yesterday, already out of the race.
Yeah, it looks like that's one and done for him, but still the fighting continues for the back. Yevon David now ahead of Fernando Barrichello, who is in free fall off the start of the race, moving across from 6, shall I say from 2nd, all the way down to 6th place now, with Yevon David moving up into 5th, so he's gained an almighty 5 places since the race start. But Michael Sheen gaining 3 after starting 6 as well, side by side. Timmy Kahacek now looking to launch himself through and past Fernando Barrichello, and Yevon David also looking to make places of his own. He's now starting to track Ed Pearson, who is just in front of him for Nielsen Racing as they race down through towards turn 9 and in towards turn 10, but just peeling off, looking to the inside, looking for some clear running. I think Michael Shin's had a moment now as they come through, and Kahacek back on the tail of Yevon David as well.
Sean Rashid went off the road, and around the outside goes Garcia, so Sean Rashid with a little mistake down into turn 8 has given the Mexican driver the opportunity and goes sailing around the outside. He takes the lead. Michael Shin coming through on the inside now as they enter the stadium section, so Sean Rashid now down to 3rd position, and he's about to have his teammate Ed Pearson for very close company going into the Sachs curve as well. It's Garfias, then Shin, and Rashid just about, but look at Yevon David right around the outside of the Sachs curve, and he's about to nail Ed Pearson. Yes, he's done him. Unbelievable stuff. This has been an incredible first lap for the championship leader, from 10th to 4th at the end of the first lap, as they about to breach the timing beam for the first time to start lap number 2. Here comes Yevon David again, this time on the inside of the first corner. That'd be a very brave move indeed, and he gets his nose chopped off there by the Georgian driver. So it's Garcia, Shin, Rashid, David, Pearson, the top 5, Kahacek in 6th, Barrichello from the front row down to 7th, Finn Green 8th, De La Tour up to 9th, and Paolo Brajnik bringing up the rear with Everett Stack out of the race, as we saw. Still yellow flags down there at turn 2 as they make their way back onto the Parabolica. Another opportunity arises here for Yevon David in 4th position to try and get himself onto the podium, and crucially is ahead of one of his championship rivals. His other closest one is just 2 cars in front of him. Garfias looking very comfortable at the front of the field. Rashid defends. Oh, he goes on the inside, in fact, of Michael Shin. So that defense ended up turning into an overtaking opportunity. They run side by side now. Shin is the one with the momentum on the outside line, so should just be able to close the door and they go into the kink at turn number 7, which is normally flat out in dry conditions. Not so much here. Oh, another dive from Rashid on the outside. And Yevon David thought about a move as well, but decided better of it. And so Rashid with a couple of attempts here to pass Michael Shin, and that is allowing Yevon David to just stick to the back of him.
Yeah, brilliant race though so far from Yevon David. Now still keeping Ed Pearson in behind, who's still been testing and waiting for an opportunity to come forward. So they come down in towards Sachs Curve yet again, just a little bit squirrely now on entry. And Timur Kaharczyk still very much the threat on Pearson. Pearson still looking though very focused on Yevon David in front of the Sri Lankan Lion. Roaring once more, this time at Hockenheimring, coming somewhat detached now from the those further up, but will, I have no doubt, close that gap as they round turn 17 once again to begin the next lap. It is still at the front Jose Garfias, who took full opportunity of all the madness right at the start of the race, managed to plumb for that lead advantage. Remember, took part in FIA F3 only a week or so ago, taking on the likes of Roman Belinsky. The two of them came together at Barcelona. Remember, he only had the call-up for that on the Monday. Now returns back here to the Euroformula Open Championship. Another look from Kaharczyk this time. Let's take a look at the replay from the start. Really poor getaway for Fernando Barrichello, but just look at the launch that Michael Shin got. He moved straight away into 3rd place, managing to dodge and weave ahead of Ed Pearson. Then further back, we did of course see Yevon David gain not just 1 place, not just 2 places, 3, not 4, it was 5 right at the get-go. Launched his way off the line. Beautiful run there from the Sri Lankan. Dived at the inside as well once again. He was taking on Diego Della Torre as well right at the beginning, as well as Everett Stack. Of course, eventually Stack would move unfortunately lose the car and would find himself off the road due to a prior incident. But Yevon David launching it up around the outside at turn 2 as well. This is the moment where Stack lost it. A tap in the rear, it would seem, from Finn Green. Yep, so unfortunately that led to the end of his race. Fortuitously, he was by the escape road as Kaharczyk continues to threaten Ed Pearson.
So Finn Green still circulating in 8th position after that contact. Paolo Brajnik has brought his car into pit lane for some reason or another. Maybe not all as well aboard that NV Racing machine, but we follow the battle for should be 4th position. Well, Yevon David there in 4th, looking at the back of Sean Rashid, still with Michael Shin just up the road as well. Jose Garfias with the fastest lap of the race, now 2.6 clear of this squabble. And Yevon David, I'm surprised. I thought he'd make slightly quicker work of these cars in front of him, given how many opportunities he's had, but obviously just picking his moment. He's got his championship head on as he slides the car on the exit of the Nord curve. Very big curb out there. That is quite treacherous. Now, I believe the yellow flags at turn 2 have been rescinded because Everett Stack's car is no longer there. It's just the slippery surface flag that is being waved because of the dirt that was dragged onto the circuit in that incident. So they can overtake into turn 2, I believe. So we make our way back down the Parabolica again. It is 3 cars vying for 2nd place, and then Pearson and Kaharczyk in their squabble over 5th position as well.
Oh, here we go.
This is the dive here from Yevon David. Very, very close. We very briefly went 3 wide through the hairpin. It gets so tight around there. And again, David wrestling the rear end as he puts the power down.
He was almost trying to copycat what Sean Rashid did earlier on. Of course, we saw him do something very, very similar. Obviously, Sean Rashid was probably in more defence, but coming down now in towards turn 9, he's going very tight to the inside. Contact between the two as they make their way around out of turn 9 and towards turn 10. But Yevon David now jumps ahead of Sean Rashid into the podium places. 3rd now is where he stays, but now he's got to take on race 1 winner Michael Shin, who sits in that 2nd spot, and then hunt down after Jose Garfias, who has an unassailable lead of 3.1 seconds. But back comes Sean Rashid. He's giving the place back. It was a very forceful entry, I have to say, coming in towards turn 9. So Yevon David doing the just thing, letting Sean Rashid through.
Gave him a bit of a shove off the road. He's got to be careful not to let another Nielsen car through as well, because Pearson's in close proximity, and that has given Michael Shin some reprieve. He's now he's more than a second up the road. I'm sure he'll be even further than that now when they get to the timing line. And it is, now 2 seconds they've lost to Michael Shin. So what was a 3-car battle for second has suddenly turned into a 3-car battle for third position. As you see, Jose Garfias pulling clear, 3.6 seconds. Sean Rashid defends to the inside, gets a little swapper under braking though. Here we're going to see the contact again. It's Yevon David on the inside. It was a very acute line, and I don't think he was ever really going to be able to leave a car's width on the outside going in there.
Oh, no.
How tight it was.
I think he definitely did the right thing giving the place back there.
100%.
Smart move from Yevon David. Obviously, given the nature of the move, wasn't quite 100% on.
And heads up from Motorpark to, if he didn't think of that himself, to give him the call to do that. Saved him a penalty.
It's the correct call.
Drivers are already looking for the wetter patches of the racetracks to try and cool these wet tyres down. That's interesting. They've got to try and make these last another 13 and a half laps.
We saw them doing it quite a bit, actually, on the run through the long straight, coming out of turn 1 and turn 2 as well. They just sort of found that, tighter line to the inside. In fact, Michael Shin was looking for it more than most. He went a lot deeper. A little swapper there from Jose Garfias straight away as they come down through towards Sachs Curve.
But that's very dry. Yeah, no spray.
There's no spray at all through that portion of circuit.
And
so
you can see a line starting to form there.
It pretty much ends coming
well.
out of Mobile 1 curve on the entry to Sachs out of turn 11 through out of turn 10 as well. Truly remarkable, obviously, just to see how different areas of the circuit dry quicker than others and how some may not even be affected by rain.
Well, look at it. This is much wetter out here through these last couple of corners, isn't it? And on the start-finish straight, but still they're looking for the wetter patches on the right-hand side of the circuit. As Kaharczyk, has he driven a car in the wet here? Has he driven this car in the wet? I don't believe he has. So I'm sure. I mean, these are new experiences for him as well.
I would imagine in GB3, where he was competing last year, he would have experienced his fair share of rain, but not in the Dara 324 as Yevon David threads the needle coming out of turn 3 and into P3 as a result for the Sri Lankan Lion. But the slipstream will be in favour of Sean Rashid this time in an attempt to return the serve against the Sri Lankan, and they will go wheel to wheel on the run down towards turn 6. Rashid takes the place back. Yevon David refusing to give up, looks to the outside and looks to try and get a cut back, and at the same time the run heading down through towards turn 9, and again a tie-up, this time with Ed Pearson and Timothy Kaharczyk, who've been fighting tooth and nail right through the entirety of this race so far. Of course, toing and froing over that 5th place, but Kaharczyk is through past Pearson, as now once again still Yevon David denied. This is a superb drive from Sean Rashid, I have to say.
I'm not sure what he was doing at turn 2 and 3, but it worked for him because he came out ahead, and brilliant move from Kaharczyk around the outside of the hairpin as well. Here we go again, Yevon David on the inside towards the Mobile 1 curve. We head back in towards the stadium section. Handfuls of understeer though for the Sri Lankan as he tried to get through the right-hander. So still on the back of Sean Rashid though, but now he's got his championship rival Timothy Kaharczyk on his tail. And speaking of tails, he was wrestling his own.
You could really hear just a little portion of engine sound there where it just went whoop. You just heard a slight zip.
You hear the wheel spin.
You certainly could, and there was a lot of traction loss, which you will expect around these greasy conditions. But back again comes Yevon David. A look to the outside coming through turn 1, but that is the tightest of margins, but he will have the better run. The momentum in his favour on the run down through towards turn 2. You can just see there Michael Shin trying to find that wetter line as well out on track now, but it's Yevon David now back into 3rd as he continues to swap here with Sean Rashid. But Sean Rashid has not just got one issue now. It's not just Yevon David anymore. It's Timothy Kaharczyk. The two drivers that converged at Spa last round in the opening race are starting to converge again. They converged as well in race 1 here yesterday, and we could yet see yet another Kaharczyk-David battle and a 10-second time penalty going the way of Finn Green. That was for the instant with Everett Stack.
Yeah, on the opening lap, no surprises there, and wide goes Rashid. That allows Kaharczyk to go through, and Pearson as well. So one little moment there for Sean Rashid drops him from 4th down to 6th. And that is great news for Kohacek as we see the big slide again for Yevon David. That was just so well held. I've got to love these conditions, and I'm just, oh, it's even better on board. I'm just always staggered and blown away by the skills of these teenage racers, these youngsters. As I said, Yevon David turning 18 on Wednesday, and a very wise head on young shoulders, but it's the same for all of these kids. I mean, of course, Timothy Kohacek, only 19 years old as well. Just brilliant stuff. And so there's that moment for Rashid. He was trying to come back at Yevon David and got the braking all wrong. No grip where he thought it would be, and loses 2 spots as a result of it. Right, fastest lap of the race done again by Jose Garfias. His lead now 4.4 seconds, but in fact Yevon David taking the fastest lap on that previous tour. He's closed into Michael Shin to 1.8 seconds now behind the South Korean, and then Timothy Kohacek and Ed Pearson still not separated by much at all in their battle for what is now 4th position, and we still have 11 laps remaining here. It's still so much to unfold, so many questions to be answered. Who's going to nurse these wet tyres the best? Who's going to find the water out there, the extremes that Michael Shin is going to down the Parabolica to try and keep his Pirelli's cool? Because look how dry it is on the racing line compared to the rest of the circuit there.
He's been looking for it more than most, Chris. I have to say, I've been watching Michael Shin relentlessly, and he's taken vastly different lines. Just see there the wing damage as well on the 69 of Finn Green. Of course, he was slapped with the penalty earlier on for the incident with Everett Stack, where he punted him into the rear. Of course, Stack now reduced down to 11th place. In fact, he's not currently showing on our timing screen at the moment, so well and truly out, of course. But it's Jose Garfias currently out in front by 4.3, has used all the chaos that has happened behind him so far to just build this unassailable lead. And this, of course, could lead to us achieving our 5th different race winner through the course of this 2025 Euroformula Open campaign. Sideways again for Timothy Kohacek this time, who makes his way out of Mobile 1 before then taking the route down out of turn 12 in towards Sachs Curve at 13, as Michael Shin now makes his way around the final 2 corners, still trying to chase after Jose Garfias. We look at the times over the last lap. Yes, Shin was a little bit faster. It was by approximately 300ths between them in that last lap, as now Garfias makes his way through turn 1, being closely, well, Shin is trying to bring himself closely to follow in behind the fellow motor park driver. And Yevon David 1.1 away is starting to also close the gap now. Bear in mind, his last lap was purple. He had a purple in the 1st and 3rd sectors. David now is on a charge. Is Michael Shin starting to lose the effectiveness in his tyres? Was he too aggressive? That is the major question, because David is starting to lurch into that time gap now. 7/10 faster over the last lap.
And already up on him on this lap as well. Worth remembering, Jose Garfias, in the 3 rounds he contested with most part last year, did not win a race. 4 podium finishes to his name. He's been on the podium this season, but he's never won in the Euroformula Open Championship, despite bagging pole position on his debut back at Red Bull Ring. But that race for him didn't last much more than 250 meters, sadly. On board here with Yevon David in hot pursuit of Michael Shin in front of him, and I'm staggered the confidence to keep it full chat through turn 7. That's astonishing, as Sean Rashid has got his teammates behind him. That's a change for position, that is. So Sean Rashid's gone back through on Ed Pearson and into 5th place. Yeah, done it in that last bit of the racetrack, and FIFO Barrichello lurking there as well in 7th position through the Sachs Curve. And this is the best we've seen of Sean Rashid all season long.
I've been really impressed with his defensive efforts. He did very well to keep a very fast Yevon David in behind. Yevon David purple again in the middle sector as of our last time around. A swapper from Sean Rashid this time around, and skidding off the circuit, and the circuit, the off track, where it's wettest, where it's slickest, no grip out there. And unfortunately for Sean Rashid, it will plant him further back, and he has crawled behind the likes of Fernando Barrichello. Curse of the commentator.
I shouldn't have said anything.
Here at Hockenheimring. Oh, Chris, he's going to be after you after the race.
Sorry, Sean. Sorry, Nielsen.
I'd write him a letter of apology if I were you.
Yeah, there'll be a public apology, don't worry. There'll be a tweet later. Okay, let's go back to the battle for second place, because on this lap so far, Michael Shin and Yevon David have matched each other to the 1,000th. That's how close it is. But Yevon David is now just half a second behind him. He'd done another fastest lap of the race last time around, and he's right on the back of his teammate in this battle for second position. They exit the hairpin. Still full chat through turn number 7. As we see again the moment for Sean Rashid. He just loses it in the penultimate corner. And once you get on that drag strip surface, there is absolutely no grip out there at all. Anybody who watched the last Formula 1 Grand Prix here will remember, with Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Nico Hülkenberg all falling afoul of that bit of asphalt, and it's
Hülkenberg was actually on his way to his podium here as well.
Yes, he was. That was a very sad day,
which went to foul, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's now caught up Sean Rashid as well. Add him to the list. It is a very long one. Absolutely nothing separating these two now, about a car length and a half as they make their way through this very narrow final sector. And you have to imagine it's a question of when rather than if for Yevon David, as we're now at half race distance. Jose Garcia is ticking off the 9th lap of the race, and let's see what his advantage is now. It's 3.8 seconds.
Dare I say, Yevon David, if he continues to lap like this, Jose Garcia could be in trouble here, because we've still got a whole 8 laps of racing still to go. If Michael Shin is deposited out of P2 and down into P3, with Yevon David moving on up, of course, still the highest rookie as well, may I add, Yevon David, because obviously Everett Stack out of the race. I mean, David could win this one. I mean, if he gets himself past Michael Shin, 3.6 to find on Jose Garcia, it's achievable. The last lap, it was a 1:46.914 for Yevon David, only 2/10 slower, faster than Garfias, but granted, laps prior than that, he's been a lot quicker, as we now watch them come very nearly side by side, coming down in towards turn 6. Nose to tail, Shin just getting a little bit squirrely on exit now. Is he going to get the momentum coming through towards turns 9 and turns 10? He'll certainly hold on to that second place, at least for now, but David has just been so unattainably quick. He's just been absolutely unreal in this stint so far.
It depends how quickly he can get through on Michael Shin, and how much of a gap Garfias can pull in the meantime. But yeah, I don't think a Yevon David win is beyond the realms of possibility here, George, as you so rightly say. And we've lost a little bit on this lap compared to Shin. You see, he just wrestles the car through the right-hander.
The question is the
12.
tyres, ultimately. I mean, obviously, he's going to be pushing to try and get past Michael Shin here, and Shin isn't going to make it easy for him by any means. And we obviously, Shin, a serial podium sitter. I mean, a trio of podiums. They may have been second places, not quite the first place that he was yearning for. Would have had his chance in the opening race, had he not had the spin at turn 2. That led to Ed Pearson leading to the first victory for Nielsen at the start of the campaign. But Yevon David is crawling all over the back of his fellow Motorpark teammates. As we now look further back as well, Barrichello and Ed Pearson together. Of course, Barrichello now half a second away from Ed Pearson at the moment as they cross the timing line. Fastest lap last time out, this time for Michael Shin.
Yeah, so he did manage to pull back a 10th ahead of Yevon David. But we'll see, he's still within striking distance, but a 1:46.37.1 for Michael Shin. And remember, there is a bonus point for setting the fastest lap, and that could be oh so crucial when we get to the season finale in Monza. We are set for an epic 3-way title fight between Shin and here comes Yevon David on the inside of the hairpin, get it around there just about, but not with any great speed, because straight back through comes Michael Shin. Now in the tow though, on the run up towards the flat out kink at turn number 7. Is he going to keep it pinned through here? No hint of a lift from either driver. Shin defends to the inside. David's tried one move around here, he's gone off the road, he can't get it stopped. He comes back on, but still behind Michael Shin, and this is great news for Jose Garfias.
Well, I must say, yes, it's allowing Garfias to move on. I mean, I appreciate what David's trying to do. He's basically trying to use the unorthodox to try and win this fight, which we got a side-by-side with Fernando Barrichello and Ed Pearson as well, fighting over that 5th place. Barrichello on a bit of a voyage of recovery after a difficult start to this race here at Hockenheimring to begin race 2, but now started to fight back, and Pearson, who's been holding on to this 5th spot now for quite some time, is now going to be faced with a Motorpark car on his Nielsen rear right now as he makes his way out of Sachs Corner, now out of turn 13 and 14. Well, they then tackle 15, 16, 17 as well to bring an end to this very lap, but Fernando started to dig a little deeper. The track still continues to dry.
I've just noticed FIFO sits very high up in the car, doesn't he?
Yeah, very high.
Practically peep over the top of the halo.
Likes the visibility, clearly.
Yeah, well, clearly. Yeah, we all do that on iRacing. Add a couple of centimetres to our driver height for better visibility, don't we? So Barrichello in 6th position, pressing on ahead of Pearson, but here's that moment again between Yev and David. Launches out of the inside, but look at the angle he's trying to take through there. Heads up driving from Shin to sort of check up at the apex and make sure he doesn't clip the back of Yev and David's car. That was some speed he was trying to carry through there, but on the exit, no chance. And this was the moment again. We saw it on board, and yeah, as soon as he gets out onto that wetter bit of the circuit, he's got no hope of getting it turned in.
I mean, even then, without the rain applied, I mean, when you run that deep and the lack of rotation, Shin's going to win every time coming out of this, but they're now wheel to wheel between Fernando Barrichello and also Ed Pearson now, and Barrichello with the upper hand here now against Ed Pearson, who's going to look to fight back as they now trip through this next right-hander on the run down through towards turn 9. Back comes Pearson around the outside now, coming in towards turn 10. Can he find the switch back here? The Nielsen driver, no, not quite. The Brazilian FIFO Barrichello moves on up into 5th place as they now run down in towards sector 3. Turn 12 awaits at Mobile 1, and he'll look to take this now to the line to begin the next lap, but still Pearson on his tail, and I can't imagine he'll make it easy for him.
No, I can't imagine he will at all. We know FIFO can come alive in these sorts of conditions. Remember his epic race win at the Red Bull Ring last year in very treacherous conditions, and a great battle with Michael Shin he had there.
Yeah, absolutely loves rain as well. Purple 2 sectors for Michael Shin as well, setting yet another fastest lap of the race. Yev and David, though, taking the purple 3rd sector, so is not ultimately that far away. They're only mere hundreds separating Shin and David at this stage. And at the top of the shop, Jose Garfias, 146.4. Last lap, 3:10s taken off him. It's now 3.2 seconds the gap as we now witness the move again, coming around turn 6. Great effort from Fernando Barrichello, took the wider line, inside line for Ed Pearson, just got a little bit tail happy on the run out, and that was a sensational move there from Fernando Barrichello, and a golf clap there from Giovanni Scala, who I'm sure appreciated that one in the Motor Park garage.
Absolutely. As we see again, the battle between Shin and David. This has been just such a joy to watch out there. While these guys have been trading fastest laps, they've closed in slightly on Garfias, but he's still got 3.2 over Shin and Yev and David. But you see another fastest lap again for Michael Shin last time around, a 146.110. 4 and a bit laps to go now, and I think the question is now, can Yev and David get himself back onto the tail of Shin and take 2nd place away from him? The win is starting to look less and less likely than what we were talking about a few laps ago. You see the wall of death there around the outside, the high side of the banked Sachs curve, which in these conditions that makes me nervous. It just makes me lean back a little bit in the box. There's Jose Garfias, who is 4 laps away from his first win in the Euroformula Open Championship, and I believe what would be his first win as well since his Nakam F4 campaign back in the 2019-20 winter, because in GP3, in Freca, and then in Euro Cup, he didn't take any victories there. I'll have that one fact-checked later, but this could be a very long-awaited win for Jose Garfias.
I would agree with you, Chris. The last time was 2019 in the Nakam F4 Championship, where he took 7 podiums and 3 wins during that career run, so hasn't actually tasted anything of the sort since. So now has arrived in the Euroformula Open, of course looking for his first since then, and this could be a very long-awaited one, and of course he will become our 5th different winner this season should he achieve that feat as well. I will say though, however, Shin still closing. Garfias did just about initially post the fastest lap of the race. It was immediately stolen again by Michael Shin, who's registered the first 1:45 of the session so far.
Well, 3 seconds and 3 and a bit laps to go. So long as Garfias keeps it on the straight and narrow, he should be able to hold on to this one. I think Michael Shin still running in a very impressive 2nd place after that lightning launch that he had. But Garfias running very, very strong, but the gap continues to creep down to 0.9 now as the 20-year-old from San Luis Potosi in Mexico rounds those final couple of corners and leads the field once again. 3 to go for Jose Garfias. Michael Shin remains in hot pursuit, though. Let's see what the lap times were on that occasion. It's down to 2.7, but now the fastest lap of the race being done by Yevon David, trying to get himself back onto the tail of Michael Shin and try and steal second place away once again.
It's going to be a test of fortitude here for Garfias now. Obviously now the gap is 2.7 between them. And Yevon David posting a fastest final sector in the last lap to grant that fastest lap overall. And Michael Shin has gone purple again in sector 1. So more time being found. It's a 22.617 in that first sector this time for Michael Shin, and has already managed to pull yet another near 0.2 of a second on Garfias at the top of the shop. So we could very much find ourselves inside 2 seconds come the end of the lap, should sector 2 and sector 3 correspond for Michael Shin and Yevon David to bring us potentially a final lap fight here at Hockenheimring. We'll of course have to find out. Of course, a lot can happen in there, and we know what can occur in slick racing conditions. We've seen already the sort from the collision with Finn Green and of course Everett Stack earlier on, and of course Sean Rashid, who had that little trip off track as well coming around the final corners. But now as we watch them make their way out of turn 10 and turn 11, side by side as well. Further back now as the 44 of Diego Della Torre comes toe-to-toe here with Ed Pearson, this time over 6th place. Pearson at the inside looking to defend the place. Torre might yet get the up and under on the run out of turn 9, turn 10, turn 11, and that is a nice sweeping manoeuvre there from the Mexican Diego Della Torre. Sweeps past Ed Pearson and into 6th place.
Della Torre having come up from the very back of the grid. Off the road, FIFO Barrichello into the gravel. He's gone way, way, way off the road.
Watch the rejoin there. Comes on. Yeah, nice and easy. Finn Green still with that front wing damage.
There's the wobbly Finn Green.
Yeah, obviously I can't imagine that's providing any green sectors, but there goes FIFO Barrichello into the gravel trap.
Goodness
and that's an uncomfortable run. Obviously just perhaps missed a little bit of the braking point coming through the fast right-hander, and Giovanni Scala's reaction clear.
Well, got slightly better visibility sitting that high up, but clearly couldn't see the braking zone on that particular occasion, could he? He was flying off the road.
Yeah, truly unreal.
We're going down to time, I'm afraid. We're about to hit the 30-minute limit in this race. We've only got about 30 seconds of that left, so we are now on the final lap of the race, and Jose Garfias leading by 1.7 seconds over Michael Shin, and is less than 4.5 kilometers away now from his first victory in 5 years of single-seater racing. Michael Shin continues to circulate in hot pursuit. He still has the fastest lap of the race. He'll get the bonus point for that as well. And he has successfully been able to keep Yevon David at bay in their battle for second position. But Jose Garfias, who last took victory in the North American and Mexican, Central American and Mexican F4 Championship back in the off-season of 2019 and 2020. He raced in Europe. He had to sit a year out to go and find some funding back in 2022, came back to Europe, and now in the Euroformula Open Championship here in Hockenheim, Jose Garfias is a race winner in the Euroformula Open Championship. He wins race 2 in Hockenheim. A fantastic maiden effort from Jose Garfias. Michael Shin in second place after his victory yesterday, and Yevon David from 10th on the grid to the podium and protects his championship lead as well. Timit Kahacek across the line in 4th position. Diego Della Torre from the back of the grid after not starting yesterday crosses the line in 5th position. Ed Pearson only 6th for the Nilsson Racing team. Fernando Barrichello after a late off into the gravel in 7th, and Finn Green limping across the line with that damaged front wing in 9th position behind Sean Rashid. Of course, we lost Everett Stack at the start of the race. Here are the results then. Jose Garfias takes a maiden victory in the Euroformula Open Championship. It is a Motorpark 1-2-3 with Michael Shin and Yevon David, the championship leader, completing the podium. Timit Kahacek in the sole BVM car in 4th, ahead of Diego Della Torre. Ed Pearson in 6th. Barrichello after that late off in 7th. Sean Rashid from reverse grid pole down to 8th, and Finn Green limping with a damaged car. Paolo Brajnik we saw come into pit lane. Everett Stack we lost at the start of the race. But what a day for Jose Garfias, George.
Yeah, our 5th different winner confirmed already this season. He joins the class of Yevon David, Michael Shin, and also Timet Kaharczyk. This is how the championship looks now as a result of that result. Of course, Yevon David still at the top on 138 points. 12-point gap now between him and Michael Shin. Of course, Shin bringing that gap closer, finishing ahead of David on the podium, 2nd and 3rd respectively for Shin and Yevon David. Timet Kaharczyk managing to scramble to 4th, but now his points gap now starts to extend between himself and Michael Shin, and also Yevon David at the top of the tree by 19 points. Ed Pearson still remains in 4th, but now Jose Garfias starts bringing himself into this championship equation. Still very close. Remember, 3 races in a race weekend can really cause a stir in a championship very easily. We may only be 3 rounds in, but there's plenty more to bring you, folks. We've got one more race as well to bring you later on this afternoon as well. But Jose Garfias, for him, a driver who has not won since 2019 in single-seater action, made his FIA Formula 3 debut last weekend at Barcelona. He took some learnings from it. It was a struggle, obviously, a different car, different machine. It may have been a Dallara, but a different kind of beast. This 324 is a different kind of beast from last year as well, but he is acclimatized to it as much as the likes of Yevon David and Michael Shin. And for the first time in the Euroformula Open, he'll place the wheel inside, back to the chassis, and raise his hands aloft as a race winner here in the Euroformula Open Championship for the first time, and granting Motor Park their 5th win as a team this campaign.
Celebrating there with the team is engineer Steve Colbert, who took Ollie Goethe to the 2022 championship with Motor Park. Great day for Jose Garfias. See Yevon David just conferring with his entourage as well.
Yeah, all warm smiles, you can imagine. It's been a long time coming for poor Jose Garfias. Yevon David, we got to talk about his incredible performance to go from 10th to 3rd. He tried and obviously was working onwards, and you could just see how much he was putting into it, making all different kinds of maneuvers. All smiles, though, on the face of Yevon David. He'll be thrilled with that result, certainly considering where he was yesterday. But huge gains made and points added to his allocation. He will stand on the podium. But what it does mean is that this championship fight will be blown open even wider as we head towards the halfway point at Hungaroring. But of course, still one more race to bring you later on this afternoon.
Top 3 then from race 2 in Hockenheim, from 10th to 3rd for Yevon David. His championship lead eroded a little bit by this man, Michael Shin, after a win yesterday, 2nd position after a lightning start for the South Korean. Now just 12 points behind Yevon David in the championship. But for the first time in the Euroformula Open Championship, and for the first time in 6 years, it's Jose Garfias on the top step of a podium.
Jos Garfias, at last, what a beautiful maiden win.
Yeah, it came finally. It was a nice race. I think we had a very good pace at the start of the race. Towards the end, I think we started to overheat the tire. It was quite hard to keep them cool. I was trying to find for the wet patches and stuff. But yeah, no, just very happy.
And in these conditions, of course, it's even nicer.
Yeah, it's even nicer. I think FP2 on Friday on the wet was quite difficult. So I think we were lacking a bit of pace in the wet, but yeah, it's quite rewarding to win in this condition after that complication on the Friday.
Well done in any case. Un saludo a México.
Saludo a todo México y a todos los que me siguen. Muchas gracias.
Enhorabuena.
Let's look back then on the last 30 minutes of racing. It was Sean Rashid who started on reverse grid pole. Not a great launch for FIFO Barrichello from the front row of the grid, but it was Michael Shin in the green-trimmed Motor Park car that shot up from 6th to 3rd on the first lap. Finn Green went into the back of Everett Stack, and that took the American out of the race early doors. Rashid had a wide moment that allowed Jose Garfias to take the lead. He wouldn't look back from this moment as he went round the outside at turns 10 and 11 to take the lead. Yevon David was coming up through the order as Michael Shin made his way through on Rashid as well to get into second. And Yevon David would battle with Rashid for quite a few laps to get himself onto the podium. With Rashid fighting back from that move out of turn 3, coming back down the parabolica and into the hairpin as well. It was a great battle to watch for the final spot on the podium, with Pearson and Gahacek also going side by side. The Polish driver right round the outside of the hairpin to take the place away. David eventually found his way through on Sean Rashid out of turn 1 and into third place and set his sights on Michael Shin. Rashid ended up skating off the road with this moment down at the penultimate corner, finding out there's no grip on the drag strip out there. But for the first time in the Euroformula Open Championship, it was Jose Garfias on the top step of the podium, our 5th different winner this season. And now to the podium then, and once again it's Yevon David who takes a step on there, his 6th podium finish of the season. For Michael Shin, it is a 5th appearance on the rostrum, and for Jose Garfias, only his 2nd this season, his 6th in the Euroformula Open Championship, but for the first time on the top step. And we'll pause for the Mexican national anthem. Well, this Euroformula Open Championship today has a Mexican, a South Korean, and a Sri Lankan on the top step of the podium. Very international field we have in this championship. Absolutely astonishing stuff. Yevon David with a 12 points advantage now in the championship as he picks up 3rd position. Michael Shin smiles for the youngster there, but can't wait to see the reaction here as the Pirelli representative hands the winning trophy to Jose Garfias.
Wonderful result for Garfias, and once again, like he said, it was a long time coming, but it certainly has finally arrived. Another trophy for Motorpark to add to their vast collection in this series, and all smiles from the team as well, who will enjoy a treble Motorpark driver podium, with them standing on all 3 steps. Of course, Yevon David winning rookie once again. After obviously Everett Stack took his first yesterday, after Yevon David finished in 10th place, back again though this time and on top in the rookie classification as they all stand for a photo. But this again, like I said, blows this championship wide open with still many races to come.
Well, a great Motorpark photo there with the top 3 all coming out of the German stable. That's all from race 2. One more race to come this weekend at 4:15 this afternoon. We'll see you then.